I also believe that most African American men and women are struggling with some form of identity crisis because systematically they have been trained to hate themselves. African Americans have been trained to see themselves as not worthy. They have been trained from early on to see themselves as not valuable. So we have been trained to hate who we are. By us hating ourselves internally, we end up projecting that type of hate onto one another. And that's why we see a lot of gang violence in the African American community, a lot of homicide being committed by a lot of Africans, by Africans, because there's a lot of hatred within us, and that hatred starts from self. It's because we have been systematically trained and concurred to think that we had to hate each other. Most black women that used to wear wigs were told that their black natural hair was not beautiful enough. Back then, it's like they had to fit into a certain type of system to be accepted. So I don't think self-love is the problem. I think lack of self-love is the problem that is causing many people, not only black people, many people to divorce, many people to break up, many people to, not work out. Because when you don't love yourself, you can't love another person. It's impossible. And I know my brother mentioned that we need to share our love. I agree with you. We have to share our love. But how can we share love if we don't love ourselves? It's impossible. Also, when we think about it, most African American men and even women have little to no awareness of emotional intelligence. We're so far off the scale when it comes down to that. So it's challenging. Now we have two people that are emotionally broken, do not love themselves. Two people that are trying to heal, emotionally getting together, trying to marry. It becomes challenging, right? We got to factor all these things when we talk about marriages in the African American community. Because when we continue to put the blame onto one group of people, or when we continue to blame ourselves, because you saying that black women, promoting self-love is you blaming a black woman for wanting to love herself after all that she has endured from the society. And it's also you blaming your own people. You know what I'm saying? So we can't keep picking at one another. It is not helpful to us actually trying to develop. I get your message. I see what you're trying to promote. However, your message is very damaging at the same time, because it is you telling a black woman she, shouldn't put herself first after all she has been through. Black women endure so much in this community. So it is actually hurting the black women for you to say self-love is damaging the black marriages. For a black woman to say it's about me, it's me time, that means she has had enough. She's fed up. Black women give. When we look at history, black women are lovers. When we look into our society today, black women are still loving. Despite all that they've been through, they're still giving. Black women love. We love. That's what we do. We love to love black men. We love to love anybody. We would love to give more love. But you got to remember, black women have been fighting alone for a long time now. Black women have been in this space where they had to pick everything up on their own. Like, we have to factor that. A lot of black single mother had to build their family on their own, with men being incarcerated, with black men having multiple wives, multiple children with multiple wives. With black men leaving their family and going and having multiple children with different women. That is a crisis that has contributed to the African American families not staying together, because most African American children grow up without their parents in their homes. Most African American children grow up not knowing what it feels like to have mom and dad in the house. They grow up not knowing what it feels like for dad to love them. Most African American children grow up not knowing what it feels like for mom to love them. There is that disconnect there as well. So we cannot just put this out here and say self-love is ruining African American marriages or African American homes. That is misinformation, and that is also, like I said, belittling to the African American women. It's also degrading the African American community, because there's so much that we have been through as people that gotta get put into factor. We can't do this to ourselves, African Americans. Loving ourselves is the way to go. We have to learn to love ourselves for us to love other people. The young man that got shot by that 14-year-old teenage boy when the mom got hit by that young man, he had a lot of anger in him. And that anger comes from lack of self-love, lack of self-awareness, lack of self-acceptance. Because if he loved himself enough, and if he respect his black queens, he would have never put his hands on a woman in that way. And a 14-year-old or 15-year-old child would have never had to take somebody else's life, especially another black man's life. Lack of self-love is killing our community.